everybody, thanks for joining me today. I don't think you ever have those days when you start reminiscing. I mean, everyone's in a similar situation again now. We're in what we call Tier 3. So one of the initiatives I wanted to do was go and film down on the River Dee some fishing. Now, I've been promising that for quite a while. Never got round to not getting round to it, either ill health or shutdown. Never happened. And it was just ironic. I was just reminiscing about different times on the river with taking fishing parties and different coaches working with. And I found this old cine camera, well, not cine camera, analog tape recorder, if you like, camcorder. And there we go, we got there eventually. And just before I go any further, and today's film's been sponsored by Gawith Navy Flake, which is Virginia, hint of Latakia, and rum topping. I think traditionally when the tobacco was being brought back from the Americas, the rum was there to help stay off the hydration of the tobacco, to keep it moist. So I think that's where it came from originally. Anyway, here's me going back in time. I find this camcorder and I start going through, manage to get the thing alive, bring it back to life. At home smoking it in an old Peterson's, which goes back, I don't know what year, but again I would have bought this in probably the mid-70s. Well, Molly's with us. Yeah, you're with us. So I'm going through, managed to get these tapes going, and what I found was going back about nearly 20 years. My good lady wife, she started off fly fishing by coming with me. She'd come and read a book, and then I got her to the point where she'd actually net the fish for me. We came back one day, and I'm now sort of coaching one thing and another. I say it's 20 years ago. And I thought, well, let's just see how she can perform with a rod. I got her to the point where, yeah, okay, she wanted to have a go. Went through the coordinations, sort of peel, pluck, pause, pat. Perfection. She just had a natural aptitude for casting. So as I used to say, that penny cup of tea I used to buy then cost me tuppence from them on. But anyway, she's an accomplished angler from the bank on still water fisheries, and times she'd been out in the boat with me. But she'd never been in a river, ever. Although she did have some waders, I could not get her to go into the river. She maybe ankle deep at the bank, that's it, no way. And her birthday was on the 19th of December, and this particular occasion I did some filming, and her present from me, I remember it vividly, was a small box of emergers, Terry's Special emergers, size 16s and 14s. They brilliant fly, especially with the orange thorax. You could get them sort of an olive as well, I think, at the time. But I tried the ones with the orange thorax. So a small box of flies. She opens that, absolutely brilliant. Oh, she was made up with that. Then there was a Sugar Babes CD. Studies that for a minute. And she dials back in and brings out, unwraps some insulated underwear. Sort of bemused at first, so I said, well, I'm not going coaching today. She thought I was going to be coaching with my good friend Gwilym Hughes, but no, I'd booked a few hours on the River Dee, middle of winter, fishing for Grayling. Very first, she wasn't happy. She was not happy. Not at first. She got even less committed when she saw that the amount of water rushing through the River Dee as we came in and around Wrexham, Akravar and Llangollen. She never said a word, she just looking at the river. I said, it'll be fine, it's perfect conditions. I knew it was going to be solid. But anyway, as I say, I could not have got her into that river. But I knew Gwilym could. It's not a matter of confidence, it's just that she can tell me where to go when I go. But she probably wouldn't say it, she'd be more polite with Gwilym. So I found that film, so I hope that will be a surrogate. In fact, it'll be better than me being on the river. Just have to take my word for that. But I also found Gwilym in a film with a chap called Matt Hayes. And for some reason I managed to get it on one of the little cassette tapes. And they're fishing on another Welsh river, the Severn, just below a town called Caersus. So if you'll bide with me, I've put this in now because this is analog and this is digital. I haven't got the technique or whereabouts to actually amalgamate the two. So what I did, I actually, using candle wax, rubber bands and some paper clips, I managed to cobble something together. So hopefully, just bear with me please. The first film constitutes Gwilym tying an important fly. It's the Greenwell, or his version of the Greenwell's Glory, Canon Greenwell, who made this fly famous. But Gwilym does his own version of it. Now he ties it on the bank of the river with Matt Hayes. Matt Hayes, in his day, was a well-renowned coarse angler. He dabbled in the fly fishing, and these days I think he's married to a Norwegian girl and he's over in Norway, and he has fly fishing, salmon, all kinds of things. So that's if he's still working, may have retired now. But he was doing a series from source to sea of these rivers, and this particular one was the Severn. So he wanted to fish for Grayling, and that's the theme today, it's Grayling, and in Janet's case it's winter Grayling. I think at the time they were fishing here would be summer Grayling. Same fish, just different food it might have been taking or whatever. But Gwilym tied this fly on the bank, which is a feat in itself. But that fly that he tied there was a forerunner of his Cull the Cannon, which is a bit of a salute to Canon Greenwell by calling it Cull the Cannon, using Cull the Canard feather. Absolute same materials, just, you know, more of, less of, more of, same hook. And then I went on to develop my own fly, the SJ Emerger, or Peroni fly, now if you've read the book. And same components, but I tie it slightly differently. I get tremendous results and a few little tweaks here and there. So please, hopefully enjoy. Stay with it. It's going to be weird after everyone being in high definition. One thing, it is not that. But hopefully you'll find it enjoyable. I'll pop back in before we go on to taking Janet onto the Afon Dovdwy on the River Dee. I hope you enjoy.
The town on the Severn, but it's also a prehistoric crossing point. There are paths that go back to very, very ancient times that made their way down here to the ford in the river. So it's been a settlement for a very, very long time indeed. In terms of its landscape, it's a transitional area between the harshness of Plynlimmon back at the source and the lush landscape that the Severn flows into further downstream. Now the reason that I'm actually here is literally to pay a flying visit, because the fishing that we're going to do next actually takes place slightly downriver, and we're going to meet a guy who knows all about fly fishing on the Upper Severn, and he's also going to talk to us about the Lady of the Stream. Well, here we are just upstream of Hughes, and I've got with me a guy who's fished for his country not once, but I think something like 17 times. Gwilym Hughes. Now, Gwilym, is that about right, 17?
That's right, yeah. 14 at international level, the home country internationals, and 3 times at world level.
All right, so you know a bit about fly fishing, but you also know quite a lot about fly fishing for grayling.
Yes.
And that's why we're together now.
They call it the 4th great game fish. Well, I don't agree with that. I think it's the 1st game fish because it's never been interfered with, and I would like it to stay that way. The River Severn here is a fabulous grayling river.
Yes.
Fabulous. Yeah.
How can you go about catching them? What sort of flies would you use?
Well, you can go a little bit more intricate into it the more you get involved, and then you'll be actually copying whatever's hatching that day.
Now, that is the real art of fly fishing, isn't it? That's entomology as well, which is the study of sort of insect forms and things. And the phrase comes into fly fishing, matching the hatch.
That's
so
right.
you have got a particular, well, I wouldn't call it a party trick because that would be a little bit dismissive, but you have got a bit of a trick, haven't you, that you're going to show us?
Well, I can tie a fly. It dates back to 1856, and it's the famous Greenwell's Glory.
Which is a very famous fly.
Absolutely, yes. And a fly that's been around for 150 years and still takes fish must be some fly.
And you reckon that you can tie one on the bank?
I can.
Without a fly tying device?
Yes.
With no aid of any devices or...
Well, no. I've got a few little tools and things here with me, but I can tie it in my hand. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I reckon that sounds brilliant. Could you tie me one?
Yes.
And I can have a fish with it?
Will I? Absolutely.
That would be great, actually. Right, let's check this out, folks.
Right.
So what materials have you got there?
Well, there's the hook. It's a size 16. Tiny little thing.
Right.
And,
I don't know whether I can just show that, if you don't mind, when you're getting the next thing ready to everyone at home. Just look at that. It's a very, very small size 16 hook, an eyed hook, with a slightly swerved shank, actually.
Yes.
No, slightly offset.
cobbler's wax.
So you're still using cobbler's wax?
Yes, a little bit of cobbler's wax. Wax the thread well like that. Get the hook, then winding the thread onto the hook shank in close, even turns.
So you're going down past the
and then
straight part of the shank,
change
rather
hand
than-
again, and then bring it all the way back in even turns, tight turns,
Yeah.
to the thorax area. So the body's done already.
Really? That's quick, isn't it?
You see it?
I can see it perfectly, yeah, that's superb.
So, as legs now, I use a little bit of deer hair.
Uh-huh.
Only about 6 or 7 strands, that's all you need. So I measure it up with this hand across the back of the hook there.
Yeah.
Change hands, a few more turns, and then another ½ inch to secure it. So the next thing is the feather, and I use 4.
So you're just tying in the wings now?
Yeah. Now then, put a whip finish in now.
Superb.
You see? And there we have the little fly.
That's fantastic. Lovely little fly, that is.
Now here's a nice bend in the river here. There's a deep pool, a run into a deep pool under them trees.
Yeah.
You place yourself there and throw upstream so that those bugs sink down and bounce along the bottom round, and keep in touch with them, and you'll feel the grayling taking it away.
So this is a good grayling swim?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's ideal for the bug?
I would think so, yeah. Don't throw it too far to start with.
Yeah.
And then after you've had a couple of casts through it and it's swum right round to here, move a foot or 2 foot, because you're actually covering a different area of the river.
Little trout, I think. Little salmon part.
That's good, that. I wouldn't concentrate too much on the swing.
Yeah.
Concentrate on the dead drift. There's something took that then.
Was it?
Yes, did you see it stop?
I did see it stop slightly, yeah.
Another couple of foot this way now, upstream. Just keep on doing it because you'll be fishing different ground all the time.
Oh, I think I had one on then.
Yeah. That's what happens. Hang on a minute. The ground.
Just felt a little wriggle and
Yeah.
shucks.
It's not easy.
It's actually not easy. It's a lot harder than it looks, believe me. I had a little touch then and struck and just felt a little wriggle and curses he came off.
See this run here now?
Yeah.
Okay, start from here. Come into here, look. Stand
Yeah.
in here, come on. Right into here.
Yeah. And go across.
Yeah, but fish it like this.
Along the crease.
This side,
Yeah.
then a little bit further out, and then come back in and work it all the way up. It's quite deep, okay?
Okay.
That's the way. Every time the line stops, I strike. In my mind, Matt. You get in the hang of it, Matt. Okay, keep coming up. 2 casts, 1 step. 2 casts, 1 step.
Okay. Good
That's
bite
it.
then.
What?
Is that a bite?
I think so. Keep in touch with him now. Just keep in touch with him. It's a nice fish, that now. Lovely.
Oh, that was a bit better. This is really sort of exacting stuff, isn't it, Gwilym?
Yeah. It's
Look at that.
little grayling.
A little tiny grayling. That's beautiful, that. I don't even care if it's not a big one. Look how lively it is.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm glad to see that you wet your hand before you got hold of it, you know. Fabulous little thing, aren't they?
Beautiful.
Now that is probably 2 years old. They grow to that length here in 2 years.
Really?
Yes, they do. The feeding is very, very rich here.
They call this fish the lady of the stream,
Absolutely.
and that's because it's very dainty. Look at its dainty little mouth, which is designed for just sipping in tiny insects and flies, and the
Fantastic.
beautiful combination of colours along its body with these gorgeous little spots. You can identify it as a game fish by this little
Adipose fin.
adipose fin here.
That's right. Do you know what's beautiful about this fish? It's never seen a hatchery pellet.
Yes.
It's completely wild.
It's a wild fish.
It's a wild fish.
It's beautiful.
They're superb things.
Welcome back. This is a lovely smoke, the Gawith Navy Flake. I've nearly finished this. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that little segment there with Matt Hayes and Gwilym Hughes. The Grayling is a gorgeous fish, and it fights so well for its size. Probably because of its dorsal fin. But it's pure muscle. They're great, lovely fish. But you notice the mouth was designed for bottom feeding. And the Czechoslovakians, as in Czech nymphing, they devised this method of bugging. There's been variations of it now. But you know, if it's not broken, don't mend it. So here we are, Janet's birthday, 19th of December, 20 years ago. Together there. I couldn't say, I daren't say anything to her, because I don't like pain. But you'll see, hopefully, in the next 20 minutes or so, Gwilym take Janet from a complete, utter novice in this method to having some success. So there's something there for everyone. Bit of technique, bit of coaching, and for us coaches, seeing how Gwilym works. And I do a bit of a voiceover, so I apologise for that now. But it was just lovely looking back. And it reminded me also of all the coaches and some out to touch now that I've worked with over the years. And the camaraderie. But no, this is Janet's day, it's her birthday, so please enjoy. She was a good caster, I've already said that, natural aptitude. But with this method, because a fly rod, I say, is a spring, what you load the spring in to cast in a normal fly fishing situation is the weight of the line. As you cast it, that weight of the line is putting the resistance of the line is putting power into the rod or the spring, and then you can release that back in the other direction. With this method, you haven't got a lot of line outside the rod, as you'll see. I won't go into too much, so it's a matter of just literally flicking the flies up and down. But you'll see, anyway, I'll leave it to Gwilym and Janet to show you the rest. So once they've finished this segment, I'll jump back in, and there's a little finale I'd just like to share with you at the end. Okay, so again, catch you again soon. I did try to get Gwilym onto a pipe, but at the time he was very much on his cigarettes. And there's Janet. Now, those waders, when I was sorting this out with Gwilym, she'd never been on a river before. She's a very, at this stage, this is 20 years ago, chaps. The 19th of December, 20 years ago. Accomplished stillwater angler, fishing from the bank. Yeah, she's fished from a boat with me, but she's never, ever, ever been in a river. Now, I knew I would not be able to help her because she just told me where to go. So I commissioned Gwilym to take her for a few hours on the river for her first ever river fishing and first ever grayling fishing. If you can hear her barking in the background, that's our dog Jess. Now he says to me, last thing, this is a couple of months before the proceeding, he says, she has got waders, hasn't she? I said, oh yeah. Well, I didn't tell him that she'd never been past her ankles in water before. So what you'll see here with Gwilym is encouraging her, and this is on the River Dee, or the Afon Dovgwy in North Wales, above Corwyn, on the Lady Newborough's stretch of the river. And we're bugging, i.e. there's 3 flies on there. It's a point, middle and dropper. So there's 3 flies fishing at 3 different depths. Now earlier you saw Matt Hayes, a very accomplished fly fisher, a very accomplished angler in all methods, and you saw how he struggled that day trying to catch grayling on this method. Now you'll see Janet's method will improve as the minutes go by. It's very much like touch ledgering, that you point fly. Sometimes it could be a middle dropper, it's the heavy fly. You see Janet's all of a sudden trying to cast it like a normal fly line. Well, no, it is a normal fly line, but you see how he literally flung the flies out. They'll now drop down. Now the point fly will be going along. Now if there's any, and I mean any, deviation in that fly line, you strike, but you strike down as he saw there, because if you strike up and you miss the fish, you're going to get a whole lot of artillery flying through the air, probably in your direction. So down, I'll let Gwilym say here.
You're the waitress, and you're taking these flies to every table, because there'll be a fish on tables. You've got to sort out them, okay? Just pick watch them all the way.
So what he's saying to her, you're fishing at all these levels, you're fishing at different creases in the river, and what you're doing, you're going to the tables where the fish would feed, and you're putting this in front of him. See now how he's now getting her out even further into the river. can I tell you, the river was in flood. I told her it's perfect conditions. It was in flood. Further up the river, where she'll go to next, is the confluence between the Dee and the Alwyn, and it rushes through there. But he's just getting a bit of confidence in this spot. Now watch her technique now. Still not quite there. So she's any deviation she will strike. Now when you saw the Matt Hay situation, Gwilym was saying, every time I see the line stop, I strike Matt. In my mind, Matt. In his mind, he's striking. See, now see how she lifted up and the consequences. So, as he's saying, come to the side. But it's difficult, you know, you're a trout fisher and you're inbuilt. Yeah, so don't pull it out of its mouth. Strike it into the side. Now Gwilym, like we fish with barbless hooks. Beautiful stretch of the river. This when I caught a salmon on this. Well, I've caught a few salmon on this stretch, courtesy of Gwilym, because I went there as his guest, and we were catching salmon for the Environment Agency to send off to the hatchery. So you catch them and you put them in a keep net facing upriver. So when they came down with the oxygenated tank on the back of a pickup, then you just transfer them over. And then once either their eggs or the mills have been taken and the job done, they were returned to the river. Atlantic salmon. Ooh, she had a move then. But you see now her technique is already improving. I could not be able to instruct Janet. I mean, I helped her with the casting, but in this where she's learning something new now, I'm afraid I'd be face down with the landing net wrapped round my neck and the rod sticking out my backside, floating down towards Jester. So it's safe for me just filming. But look how she's got a confidence in the river now. And look how smooth that was. When you're picking up the line and the flies from the water, it's a steady, steady, steady retrieve. You watch now. Oh, see, just in case. Now, what I always do, and when I've been instructing, is when you're on the point, always just give a little tap, because sometimes the fish will follow it, and when it stops in the water, when it's hanging on the dangle, sometimes they'll have a mouth of it. So good, as he did then, just a little tap just in case. And the number of fish that my clients and I have caught with that little method, because at the same time, if Janet was to move more in the water, she would be disturbing caddis larvae, etc., nymphs, and the grayling, because they're designed as bottom feeders, would be feeding around her feet. So, what is she, 10 minutes in? Look at the method now, and the confidence. Notice how far away Gwilym is from her now. Well, he's got stuck in the stones. Well, that's where the fish are. She wants to be taking a little bit further upstream, but you'll see that she will do that later. You'll see now Janet's technique, how it's improved. Slowly up into position, the rod just in front of the fly that's ledgering. Let it go on the dangle. Oh, she's in. Oh, that's not a bad looking fish. I think it's a trout. Out of season. Typical poacher's fly. You see how far she's moved down the river with Gwilym now. Watch Gwilym wet his hand before he handles the fish. Wild brownie. Well done, Janet. It was about 2 years old. The Grayling, the record for the British Grayling is just over £4, and that's a huge Grayling. The average Grayling, I would say, anything from £0.5 up £0.75 to £1. That you saw Matt Hayes land is a lovely fish, make no mistake. You're looking at steelheads and one thing and another and rainbow trout, but you know, you say, oh, it's only a small fish. No, from a Grayling perspective, that's it's a decent fish, it's a nice fish. So Janet still hasn't landed her first Grayling, but anticipate that she now knows the method works. She knew it worked before, but now it's working for her. I'd encourage you to follow through, drop the rod tip as the line goes on the dangle. There's always a chance a fish will follow. This is the 19th of December, 20 years ago, Janet's birthday. This was part of her birthday gift. It started off with a box of flies, a Sugar Babes CD, and then some thermal underwear, which she was quite bemused about. And she thought I worked with Gwilym for 2 years. We had a casting and fishing clinic at Chirk Fishery every Sunday for 2 years. And she thought I was off there this day. And that's when I told her this is her birthday treat. She wasn't too keen at first, but you can see now she's settled down. Because the river further down was in flood. She never spoke. All the way from Achrava, all the way up through Llangollen and Corwin. All she could do was look at the river. You can see how far in she is now, and Gwilym's backed off that a bit more. She's giving her that independence. You see how she struck down again. Doing right, and just let the flies run down. Gwilym's just helping her out with the technique. And what he was saying to Matt Hayes at that time, any deviation, it's got to be a fish. They're in, they're out. They've inhaled the fish, the fly, they've blown it out again. I think she just caught North Wales there. Or has she? Yeah, I think it was North Wales. Just above here is the Berwyn Mountains, and I might do, don't know, but above there was the Welsh Roslyn, as they call it, the UFO. I might put a link below this. You may find it of interest. There was a documentary done on it, and you can look into it more and more. It is a strange happening. Even some of the terrain now has been transformed. Where it was open sort of moorland, they planted trees. They've gone out the way to hide any evidence of what may have happened there that night. As I say, I'll put a link below to that. Now that water is going to be really cold. But Janet doesn't care anymore. But I think she's tiring a bit. We had a break not long after this. As you see, she's not letting the line go down river before recasting. So I think we decided that was going to be maybe it. But we didn't quite. See how she lifted up then, tiredness creeping in and the line. But not long after that, guess what? She caught a fish. That's the first grayling. Well done, Janet. You see? It was on the point fly. The point fly was an olive. But I'd just maybe a tad bigger than our friend Mr. Hayes. But yeah, that's a good sized grayling. A good sized grayling. Now Janet was concerned she might hurt this. She's never any experience with grayling. I can tell you they're just pure muscle. Didn't want to hold it and then was like, get hold of it, you know. Again, this would have been me floating down the river, probably with the grayling wrapped around the back of my head. I don't. Yes, you will. Oh dear. Yeah, this is a girl now that's won so many fly fishing scenarios. Well done, birthday girl. You can see that is pure muscle. They are strong, Janet. And there's the dorsal fin. That's why it's like a sailfish. It is part of the salmonoid family. It has the adipose fin between the dorsal and the tail fin. But it's probably more akin to the Arctic char, the scientists would tell you. But it is certainly a salmonoid.
I can't bend out.
Yes, you can.
She's got that many layers on. He'll go, he'll go. It's a wild fish. There's plenty of oxygen in there. Not exactly where she is now, but it'll be away. Well done. Well done. That's your first ever. How long's it taken you? 21 years? No, to be fair, that's the first time out. So here we are now, refreshed. We're now at the confluence between the Alwyn and the Dee, and that agitated water you see just above Gwilym's head, that is coming in from the Alwyn. Just to the left is a rather deep hole, but I can tell you the water would have been quite strong against the legs where they were earlier further down the river, but now in that position, just a few strides out from there, even where she is, it'll be fairly tight. But she's refreshed now. We'll see if get her concentration going again. Just to the right, further up the river, there is a ford where they take cattle across. Well, the cattle go across there on their own accord, actually. We also get the four-wheel drives, off-roaders going through there. We see the mist dropping now. Not too much daylight left. What happens with the grayling this time of year, they will pod up, school up. Where you catch one, you catch several. So they come into slacker water. The reason for that, I would suggest, is if you're a fish, you're not going to be swimming up against the strength of that river all the time. You want to be just off the current. So where you see a crease, there's always a chance a wily fish will be just off the pace and then see a potential food source and then go up for it. But all Janet's thinking about now is catching fish. I don't think she's worried about the water. So Gwilym's done an absolutely fantastic job there. Now, there she is, bending a rod. That's a decent fish. She's brought it into the slacker water now. Janet's going to perform something now. It's not recommended in a rushing water. This, by the way, is a more than decent grayling.
That is a big grayling.
Yeah, don't jiggle. Don't do an Irish jig in the middle of the river, Janet. Not recommended. Gwilym. APGAI, by the way, is the Advanced Game Angling Instructors Association.
Huge fish.
Sorry, instructor. Gwilym was
Aren't they beautiful though, Janet?
qualified at all the top levels in single-handed rod, double-handed rod and fly tying. There's nowhere else to go. Advanced Professional Game Angling Instructor, APGAI.
They're very strong though, aren't they, Janet?
I'm trying to identify that rod. Right, it's not,
Absolutely. I mean,
that'd be Gwilym's.
I would say
Smile. Look at the camera and smile. You got it? You really hold it.
that is a grayling and a half.
Okay?
Yeah, one happy angler, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was going to kiss it then.
Just there. You don't need to go out. Just down here, look. No, this way.
Alright.
Yeah. Go now. There you are, look.
Oh, well done.
So, yeah, that would be a hardy angel, I think Gwilym was using at the time. Probably a Snowby line. Janet was christened the Grayling Queen after this episode amongst the instructors on that part of the world. You might notice how far out Janet is now. She's not being stupid, she's being safe, she's being sensible. She's side onto the current. Well, it's just the confidence that Gwilym's given her. I could not have achieved that, not without being beaten severely. Me, that is. It's the most peaceful area to fish. It's one of the nicest. There's a church on the other side of the river as well, which has a bit of history, which is a Welsh song to it, which Gwilym sings in one of his videos. Oh, Janet, are you in it again? Wow. I don't know if this is certainly pulling on that rod. See how she's bringing the line? Oh, she's putting it onto the reel this time, is she? No, she's bringing it down through a rod hand and keeping it tight on the fingers there. I'm not sure if this is even bigger. It's a big fish. Ah dear. I can tell you, in coaching and teaching, the ladies are the, I was going to say the easiest, they're the ones that learn the quickest. And that again is a decent fish. Well, what's a big grayling, eh? You catch him all the time, don't you, Janet? In other words, you get fishing again, Janet, Gwilym will stick this back. There you go. They recover like that. It's away. It's no harm done. I think we got the last of the light there. What a great day, Gwilym. God bless you, sir, wherever you are. We lost touch. I believe last he was sort of, he retired. And he's living in cricket somewhere. He and Sarah is good lady, lovely couple. Shared some wonderful moments, both fishing and socially. Oh yeah, I think Janet was telling him, I think I've had enough now. No, one more. That's a sign of a good coach. It's an E for encouragement. Some may say tantamount to more enthusiastic than encouragement, but he's done what I have to hold my hand up. I could not achieve with Janet. It's like coaching football with your son. It's always best it comes from somewhere else. Well, there you have it, including a jig, Irish jig by Janet landed that. Rather good specimen of a grayling there. And I hope you can appreciate how Gwilym developed her in that very short space of time. She never looked back. Janet's done, she'd hate me to say this, but she's a very good fly fisher. I think I just embarrass her, but I'm proud of her. I'm proud of what she's achieved. And looking back to those days with Gwilym, we had casting and fishing clinics at Chirk Fishery. And we had people coming from all over the northwest, North Wales, Anglesey. We were on for 2 years, and we were able to develop personal development situations with them through the seasons, and at least 3 of them became professional game angling instructors in their own right. At least 3. Not before. I think it was 4, could be 5 actually. But we parted ways, not in a bad way, just that I had health issues and I didn't like talking about, you don't, do you? You just get on with things, and looking after an aged mother as well at the same time, and trying to keep a job tied down. Yeah, lots of fun. Sorry, I didn't mean to be negative there, but I'm just saying we lost touch. And then it's just heads down, get to the finishing line, get to retirement, and then you start to surface. And I'm having one of those moments when I'm looking around and just thinking back and appreciating the fellowship I had with a lot of those people. And some I've managed to find some photographs of, and one thing and another. So if you'll bear with me, I've put up a collage of films now, which just pays a little bit of tribute, so hopefully you'll stick with me on this. I would like to say once again, all the viewers I've been getting, I hope you're enjoying the content. I don't know how many more I'll be putting out. As I say, this is the one I wanted to do on fly fishing, but Janet stepped into the breach, brilliant. But there are a couple of more initiatives I want to get ticked off, if I can. I do promote in this segment Gwilym's book, The Angle of the Cast, and although my book, Three Rivers Adventure, helped you put together a plan, an action to complete your own adventures on a excursion, whether it be a weekend or a full week as the book's designed for. What Gwilym is, he's taking different scenarios in regards to species, flies, conditions. So it's a great complement to any fly fishing library. I got the hardback, which was, I think he only did about, I was going to say 30, maybe 50, I don't know. But I was one of the first in line. But I think you can still get the paperback either on Amazon, or there is a bookshop in Wales called the Cochrabundi, and they specialise in country pursuits, whether it's shooting, fishing, horse riding, farming, you name it, they've got books on it. So hopefully you'll join with me a little bit of celebration here of these people that I've worked with. Yes. So thank you everyone for the viewing as well. That's how I'll keep hopefully get at least a couple more out. Anyway, it's goodbye for now. Enjoy the last bit of the segment. I'll catch you again soon. Stay safe, keep well. Bye for now.